alaikum, everyone. Wishing you all peace and happiness. My name is Naeem Zamindar, and I'm the country director for Pakistan. I used to be a CEO of a telecom company in Pakistan. I became a venture capitalist. I then started a social enterprise. I came back from the Silicon Valley to Pakistan to teach meditation, right? And the foundation that we set up taught about 100,000 people. And it's very challenging to operate in a country like Pakistan. But I'm here now with Acumen because I really believe Acumen is the movement that's bringing about this change, right? Which is enabling a better world, a more dignified world for everyone. Pakistan is a very challenging country. It's been through a very difficult period. The last 10 years have been really rough, right? All of us have experienced it. It's been hard to operate there. But it's also the 6th most populated country in the world. It's going to be the 3rd most populated by 2050. It's got a very young population, average age is 21. Full of youth, full of energy, full of hope. But the challenge is that the educational system has failed the country. Half the people are illiterate, half, right? And the half that are not that are literate have gone through basically an educational system that teaches through rote, which has really does not develop a pluralistic mindset, a critical capability that can enable someone to live a productive life to the extent this world requires. And the challenge is that, if you can't engage these people, this young population, you're going to have this opportunity being lost and converted into something which can be disastrous. Madrasas, which are the religious schools, have really taken a strong root in the country because parents don't have much of an option, right? Every parent wants the child to have a better life. Every parent does, but just the options are not there. Acumen has a strategy to bring about a change in that, right? And the strategy is, for example, we've invested in a low-cost school system that's enabling high-quality education. Not only is it going to be scalable, right? We hope we're going to scale it, but it's also going to prove out that this market is a viable market and will be able to fill this gap, the educational gap. We're also investing in educational technology that can dramatically, right, disruptively transform educational access, right, and quality outcomes. What is on top, right? We've got fellows who are doing some amazing work in terms of enabling a transformation in trying to create a liberal educational system. An educational system that creates a voice of freedom for everyone, right? Enables people to have a better life. Today we have 2 fellows who sort of represent and who showcase some of the work that's being done to bring about the optimism that Fareed Zakari just mentioned. And I'm going to hand it off to them, but before I do, I want to introduce both of them. Imran Sarwar. Imran Sarwar is a Harvard graduate from the Kennedy School of Government. He came back to Pakistan, started and built up an organization called Rabt, which teaches children empathy skills and critical thinking skills. And we've got Mashall on the other side. Mashall also came back from the US. She went to Georgetown and came back to Pakistan to start an organization called the Reading Room. The Reading Room project leverages the internet to enable quality educational outcomes for low-income children. So I'll let both of you talk more about what you guys are doing. Imran?
Thank you, Naeem. Yeah, I got it from here. Thank you for the introduction, Naeem. And a good evening, afternoon, kind of a thing, whatever it is in New York right now. Naeem already did the introduction. Basically, what we are doing here at Rupt is we are using education as a tool towards building a more empathetic society. And what I mean by that is, simply put, a society where we're able to listen to each other, understand different perspectives, and perhaps most importantly, understand our own preconceived notions. What we do is that we conduct mentor-led camps and workshops with students and young professionals, where all the activities, they focus on building 4 core competencies in students: critical thinking, empathy, creativity, and self-confidence. We build one-on-one connection with the students during these intensive summer and year-round programs. And in the last 5 years, we have worked with something like over 1,600 students and engaged around 350 volunteer mentors. So yeah, that's from my side, Mashall.
Thanks, Imran. And thank you so much, Naeem. So I think that from the statistics that Naeem gave you, it's really no secret that public and private schooling in Pakistan is broken. And at Reading Room Project, we really want to put learning into students' own hands. So we run fee-based learning centers where we teach our students intensive English literacy, digital literacy, and how to self-learn using the internet. Most of all, I think what we really try to do is get them to tap into what it is they are curious about and what they love, and then we try to set them on a path to explore that to the ends of the earth. For us, it's about building core skills, but also about really creating the conditions and the mindset to foster lifelong learners. We currently run one community lab in Karachi, which we're trying to make sustainable, and we've worked with 150 students over the last 2.5 years. So that's us. Hi.
So, it's, I mean, you guys doing amazing work. It's challenging to operate in Pakistan. Why are you doing what you're doing? Imran?
Yeah, I'll go for it. So it's funny. I mean, your experiences shape you, right? Fareed was just talking about like growing up in a bustling environment, and like how that sort of like gives you an aptitude for a certain skill, a certain vocation. So similarly, like when I was going through college over here in Lahore, I volunteered for this program where we do short training for students from underprivileged backgrounds, preparing them for SAT exams and a college scholarship. And during those 3-week training, what I realized was that more than any material that you're able to impart, it's those human connections that you build with the student that truly can inspire them, that can truly like motivate someone to strive and reach out. So that was the inspiration behind Rapt when it started off in 2011. I was gone from the country for 2 years. Coming back, the decision basically was whether I continue with it or not. And there was one thing that a child, like during our first summer camp in 2011, this child said, like he came up to me towards the end of the camp, very shy kid otherwise. But that day he was like, I have to tell you something. And what he said was basically that up till today, I had been memorizing. Today, I'm learning. And that, for me, in a nutshell, was everything that we were working for. And I think in my 2 years of grad school, that was one thing that stuck with me. And I knew that I had to come back to Lahore. So what like I remember right now is James Joyce. He says that he writes about Dublin, and the reason he says he writes about Dublin is because if he can get to the heart of Dublin, he can get to the heart of any city. In the peculiar, in the specific lies the universal. So that's what I believe. If I can get to the heart of making this model work in Lahore, I can make it work anywhere. That's bottom-up policy making. First, need to get it right in the particular, and then it can go global. Mashall.
It's a really good question. And I think the first thing that really comes into my head is that there is very little else worth doing. And let me contextualize that a little bit. A few years ago, I took some time off took some time off my job to study. I had always worked in development, and I was growing very disillusioned with the kind of work that I was doing and the perceived impact of that. So for about a year, I started working freelance, and I started studying mathematics at night. I found a great tutor, and I used the internet. And you know, that year of open-ended study, it changed my life. I felt like a child, frankly, and full of wonder, possibility, felt like it was just so, it really felt very beautiful. And something that struck me quite early on was, wouldn't it have been congruent to feel this as a child? And wouldn't it be amazing if children simply spent their entire childhood at school learning this way? And why is this feeling important? the thing is, growing up in Pakistan, from when we're very young, we see something, and it's a gross inequity. It stares us in the face, and nobody really talks about it, or they do, but it's confined to the drawing room discussion. It's this inequity in health, in education, in living. And what I could not stomach since I was very young was that this was always very quickly explained away. And the fact is that it's totally random. It's totally random that somebody can be born here and they have absolutely nothing. And then I can be born one neighborhood over and have every possible opportunity open to me for success. There's this basic injustice in life that works like a random die, and it locks people's destinies. And you know, the only thing to unlock those destinies is quality education. Education can raise a child, completely change their skills, their outlook, their mindset. It changes not only their destiny, it changes the destiny of everyone that comes after them, of all their future generations. And the fact is that quality education is not what Pakistani students, 30 million of them enrolled in school, are receiving today. And to reshape that requires our willful actions. And that's why I do what I do, because I really believe, I think that there are scientists here, there are great thinkers here, artists, intellectuals, and they're all here and they lie dormant because of an education system that has failed them. And wouldn't it be amazing to see them come out into the world? And that's what true education does, right? It brings out that beauty into the world. So that's it.
So you guys have been working at it for the last 3 or 4 years, right? And how has your perspective and strategy changed as you've overcome challenges and seen the opportunities ahead of you? Imran?
I mean, frankly, when I think about that in a nutshell, I think I'm a more optimistic person right now as opposed to I was about 2 to 3 years back. Because just like you said, there are all these preconceived notions which are there before you jump into something, right? Um, Before coming to Pakistan, there are problems with, oh, you're going to go back there, you're going to work there, it's going to be a disaster. How are you going to manage yourself? Or you're going to start your own social enterprise like that. That's going to be like hell of a problem. How are you going to like manage that? And as soon as you step in, as soon as you take that first step, what I call like you take that leap of faith, things start working out. I mean, I don't know what it is, but people start popping up who are going to help you out. Opportunities like Acumen step up. You find yourself a tribe of people that are like-minded, that sort of are on the same wavelength, like me and Mashall are here right now. So you start like forming this sort of a structure where like people are there to support you. So I mean, there are challenges. Of course, there are challenges. Honestly, we only have funds right now for the next 2 months. But beyond that, I just have a feeling that like things will work out because that's how we have been managing for the last 2.5, 3 years. It's getting better, it's getting more structured, but you start seeing those opportunities instead of the challenges. And that I think comes with an entrepreneurial mindset. That comes with a mindset that says that fine, we have this problem right here, but like how do we go about fixing it? And there are like problems all around the globe. In Pakistan, in the States, everywhere. So in terms of the response that we have getting from the schools, from the parents, from the teachers from public schools. And public school, by the way, is a completely different environment. Even to get access to go into the public schools in Pakistan, that requires an arm and a leg. So once those schools are coming up to us and asking us to be on their school council, that's something. So the response we are seeing in these terms in the last 2.5, 3 years, like it just makes me it puts me in a very happy place. Yeah.
Wow. Mashal?
That's awesome. So I think the biggest thing for me is that the one major realization is the need for collaboration. First I used to operate and think in a very solitary manner. There's always been a wonderful team from the beginning, but mentally it was a tough concept for me. I would always kind of try to do things myself. And I think it's that drive that got me to get up and start this thing. So it was useful for a time. I felt alone and I thought that was perfectly fine. And now, whenever I think of making a move, any move, there's only we. It's so apparent now that it's a movement and it has to be a movement. And so now I just spend my time trying to find people waiting to be found to join us or to join them somehow, and do it together. There's no I anymore. And okay, so the other thing is that I feel more bold. When I look around, I'm more likely to reach out to friends who I admire or people I deeply respect. I'll give Imran as an example. I'm so much more likely now to say, hey, should we work together? Do you want to work on this? Here's why we should work on this together. And lately, even more drastically, I've started having these mental thoughts in that, in coming together, should we discard what we separately hold dear and try to make something new, something better? Is that possible? And I never used to ask those questions before. And I think what I'm realizing is that the problem is so huge. The problem is so huge. We are trying to change the structure of society. And the odds are so staggering that if we sat down and actually counted them out and estimated them, we would give up. And the reality is that we may be exceptionally talented, resourceful, persistent, all of those things, and we still might fail. So the problem in itself is so deeply complex and it's dynamic like a disease, replicating, multiplying when you turn your head for a moment. So I know for sure now, right, that if we don't collaborate in a dramatic way, it's not going to work. And probably we will have spent a perfectly reasonable life in the development sector or in the social enterprise sector. We might even get lauded by social media. We'll plug away at the problem. We'll make a small dent. And this is terrifying because it will be a complete waste. I think we have to be much more drastic about collaborating together if we want to achieve what we say we want to achieve. So that's my realization.
That's so amazing. But the question is, right? I mean, I think you just framed it correctly. You guys are doing amazing work. But how do we bring about a paradigm shift?
I can. Yeah, everyone is like, huh. So like, let's get these two to answer that. But yeah. I think to get a grasp on how to go about that is like we have to think about like where do paradigm shifts come from, right? They come. So paradigm shift is obviously big, but it starts small, and it starts from listening. It starts from like going on the ground, being with people, like not sort of like guiding them, but like being with them and being guided by them. Um, and I'm just sorry, but like that's not possible while you're sitting in either DC or Islamabad in Pakistan. That's just not going to happen. You have to step out. You have to like go and work bottom up, start listening to people, start appreciating all that is going on, start appreciating all that the people are already doing. And that's where we, I think, like have learned immensely over the last 2.5, 3 years. Our students have taught us, our stakeholders have taught us. So what I was mentioning earlier, one of the public schools, they asked our director of operations to be on their school council. And that is huge. Like we are making inroads. We are taking people along with us. Our volunteer mentors, they are starting their own social enterprises. So like even right now, I have about 3 concept papers with me on how our fellows can take their social enterprises forward. So we are starting to see that shift because we essentially had to create a demand for empathy. Because when you go to a school regularly, you like if you're teaching maths, you're teaching English, like well and good. But if you're talking about empathy, critical thinking, you have to create a demand for that. And this year we made some sales as well. Right now we are 15% self-sustainable. That's not a lot, but from last year, if you compare it from last year, it was less than 1%. So it's like 15 times more. So we are starting to make that shift, but a paradigm shift will need like a much more sustained effort. It will need a much more active effort on our part to truly understand how we can bring that about. Yeah.
So I really agree with Imran that about creating the demand for the product, because the thing is that if it's not sustainable, it's not going to be here tomorrow, and then what's the point? So with us also, we charge a fee. And in order to charge a fee, we charge for the skills that we teach kids. And in order to charge that fee, we have to communicate what the skills are and why they are important. Some people understand, like some skills resonate more than others. English language resonates especially well. Digital literacy resonates especially well. Critical thinking, how to question, like doesn't resonate that well. So it's tough, but I think sustainability is the goal. Like for us, that is it. So we charge a fee and that's how we do it. But I think in a wider sense, to talk about paradigm, we've got to talk about the world that we live in, right? It's one where information is at our fingertips. So rather than having our children memorize blocks of information and regurgitate it, wouldn't it be useful to teach them how to think about something, how to come up with an opinion, how to verify it, how to falsify it, and how to rigorously break down a problem in order to actually address it, right? Any problem. That, I feel, in a world of limitless, conflicting information, that's the skill to teach. Now, in our pilot, we would conduct these activities, and we used to call them squirmies because they literally made the kids squirm so much physically because they were difficult. They required answering like an open-ended question or a math problem a couple years ahead of that kid's grade level. And the only requirement was that your teacher can't help you, but the internet can, and your peers can. So you can do as much group work as you like. And the problem our kids faced wasn't finding the answers, because after initially complaining and squirming, they would get down to it and they would try again and again and again to try to get the answer. They found the answers. Where they stopped short was that they couldn't read the answers that they found. As Naeem was elucidating, example, who is Abdus Salam? They find the Wikipedia article, they can't read it, not in English, not in Urdu. They completed a whole bunch of animated coding puzzles on code.org. Now it's time to type code in words, and they cannot. Because you see, in Pakistan, like this is also the world that we live in, where over 50% of us don't know how to read, and despite going to school. So we have to teach those basic skills that one might take for granted, like literacy. And let's acknowledge that the shameful fact that in our world, simply teaching those basic skills overturns the paradigm. So for us, just to sum it up, it's about two sides of the same coin. The skills you need to perceive the information that's around you, that limitless information, and then the skills you need to actually go to the next level to use that information, like a thinking, questioning individual. Yeah, that's it.
We are very hopeful that change is round the corner. With the concerted effort, we will turn the tide. One of the other things that we are, as Acumen are doing is starting to convene the space where change agents like Imran and Mashall and the companies that we are working with are being brought in front of other people, right? The whole educational community, to start galvanizing them towards a new way to solve the problem. There is a solution, there is a way, and we're going to make it happen. So thank you very much, Mashall and Imran. We are proud of you.
Thank you.
And we love you.
Thank you, Naeem.
Thank you so much.
And you know, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger.
Only makes you strong.
And that's
I can break out into rap right now.
You see these leaders, and you know that the strength that comes out of this process, right? And 1:50 is 2 a.m. right now. And yeah, so thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good evening.